Welcome back, Addicts. This is Addict Informative here, and we are going to be reviewing Be the Beginning, new Netflix original anime that we have watched recently and enjoyed thoroughly. So we're going to review that for you. So basically, the story in Be the Beginning is there is a serial killer known as Killer B, and he's causing chaos in the city that they're in, and the investigative team brings on this guy named Keith, who is this genius investigator, a bit of a legend throughout the team, and he comes on to investigate, and then it just spirals into this whole world of chasing B, the serial killer, and then they get involved in this other huge, scary criminal organization that is involved with this killer B. And so that's the gist of the story without getting too much into it. I don't want to spoil anything because there's some really cool twists and turns.
Yeah. I'm going to go a little bit into the characters. Starting off with the main character that the story kind of revolves around, and that's Koku. I don't want to spoil too much away, but you will see very early on in the show what his connection is and how he is related to both plot lines that are going on. But he is a kind of seemingly young boy. He kind of has the look of a teenager. We don't really know how old he is. It's never specified. But he's kind of a quiet guy, doesn't say much, but you learn more things through him. I would say you learn a quite big deal of information in the first episode, like where he works, like what's his connection with the other characters. He does know the younger person that's working on the police force, Lily, which, getting into her, she is kind of the newer detective. I mean, she's been on the force for a while, but she's still kind of the rookie.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like a lighthearted, like, sometimes does comic relief, but
for
overall she does manage to push the plot forward, at least early on.
She's kind of Keith's understudy, more or less.
Kind of like a partner, but kind of more like you said, kind of like a
They're bringing her up to be the next Keith.
Yeah, which, getting into Keith, he is arguably probably the second most focal point of the show, which I find very interesting, which we'll get on to later that. But he is a kind of mysterious guy. You'll learn more about his past and what happened to him, but he is somebody that obviously has been through some kind of loss, and they go later into that, but he is a very downtrodden man, very crabby, kind of a hermit, doesn't like people, doesn't really pay attention a lot because he doesn't feel the need to because he can figure it out.
He's a genius.
And that is basically his main thing with the team is figuring out what the others can't. We get a lot of other characters, and I'm not going to go into detail because they're not as important as they serve as supporting, but you get the other people on the task team that are part of this special group of the police force. And you'll see their connection as they are shown pretty heavily. The other connection, which is kind of the mysterious group, I'm not going to go into each of their names, but you do get a little peek into theirs, and they serve as I would say the main focus of the antagonist role. Yeah. But you get to see later on to what effect and how they have their hands. The only other character that I'll mention is Gilbert Ross, which he is a old friend of Keith's, and he's kind of like a doctor, does some work for the police force, deals with helping with investigations, but that's mainly all I'm going to say without giving too much away.
Yeah. So as far as like our impressions for the show, I'm pretty sure we both really enjoyed it, and so going into like some highlights for us. I would say one of my highlights early on was Koku's his introduction. Like when you really get to know him, when you see a side of him. I don't know if I want to spoil it. I mean, it's in like the first couple episodes.
It's in like I think the first couple seconds even. Like
So basically, Koku has this power that I won't get into, but he's definitely got a power. He's not really human. But when you get to see that, it's really cool because the first part of the show, you don't really know where it's going, but you think it's grounded in reality, and then it takes this weird, almost supernatural turn when Koku reveals his powers and goes and cuts down one of his enemies in spectacular fashion. It's like, wow, that was really cool. That was really well done.
Honestly, probably one of the best fight sequences through the whole show for me. Just like the first introduction, it's really cool and really iconic. There was, I would say, out of like just talking about characters, one of the things that really surprised me, but I really did like, was Keith's character. Because I don't think I've seen many animes that have a main character, or I should say, like probably like a shared protagonist that is older and in a more wiser position. Yeah. So because he's in his 30s, maybe early 40s. Yeah. And it was just really cool to see that difference. I hadn't seen that much in anime.
That's a good point.
And he's a really complicated character. He's got a lot of issues. The way he connects to a lot of different plots is really interesting. Maybe, I wouldn't say it's far-fetched to see his connections, as there's a certain element that connects it in a believable way. Yeah. But it is really cool to see his character go through dealing with personal battles as well as helping support in the overall thing that is kind of the bigger threat, I should say. But, I mean, as far as other stuff, I really love the mystery aspect of the show and the lore behind it. Like, when you get introduced, like, you see the city, and the city alone, I was like, where does this take place? Is this a fictional city that's got, like, some really weird, like, history behind it? Like, I mean, there's a lot of different aspects that are really cool when you like up and you just want to know more instantly.
Yeah, the city was fascinating, and it is futuristic for sure. They've got a lot of futuristic technology in it, but a lot of it is actually set in what looks like older.
Yeah, it's like ruined, like ancient, but it's got that futuristic style.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah. One other character I'd like to touch on is Lily. Keith's understudy. Lily adds, like Josh said, quite a bit of comedic undertones to the show, which there's not a lot of. This is one of those anime, I mean, most anime I've seen or that I've watched have a decent amount of comedy throughout, and this one not so much. I'd say this is B is a little more along the lines of like Psychopaths, with the killings going on, and it does take itself more serious for sure, and I think that totally aids the comedy. So whenever the comedy does come in, it hits pretty good.
Well, and also there's a lot of parts. I mean, it's not the darkest anime I've seen, but there are parts where it gets a little bit darker than the tone that you normally see throughout the show. And so some of those like comedic reliefs that pop up feel natural to kind of ease the tension that you just saw. Yeah. So there was at no point that they felt annoying or out of place, but it was just kind of like a happy thing to skid into, because like Graham said, it's a show that takes itself seriously, and that is actually one of its many charms.
Yeah, and I think it brought up, especially towards the end of the show, when you find out what's really going on with this criminal organization and some of the things they're into, I think it brings up some really interesting philosophical questions. Like, it had me thinking, like, I mean, is this right? Like, morally, how do I feel about this? And there's some interesting things that come up towards the end of the show, and I really appreciated it for that. And overall, I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend this.
Yeah, I think the only gripe I might be able to think up is sometimes it feels like the timelines throughout the show feel a little off, like they don't fully connect. But I mean, they don't go too much in detail, so it's not like a thing that really hits that out. It's just when you start thinking about it, you might be like, well, how does that really connect? But overall, I would say like it's pretty fill out. They didn't have any plot holes, I would say, like at least big ones that I could think of. And yeah, like Graham, I would recommend this. I thought it was a pretty good anime. I would say if I had to, I could probably rate it like between like a 6.5 and a 7 out of 10, because I really did enjoy it, but it's not. I didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other shows that I put in like my top 5 anime, but it was still a good show that I would recommend, and it's only 12 episodes, so you could watch it basically.
And at 12 episodes, I breezed through this in almost just one night, and then the next morning, like I breezed through it really quick because it's a very fun watch. You just get through the episodes pretty quick.
And with that mystery aspect, you just want to watch it until it's done. You know?
I liked it quite a lot. It's actually one of my more favorite Netflix, especially for the Netflix original anime. I think it's up there.
Yeah, because there's. I don't know. There's like, I don't know. I've watched more Netflix anime than maybe you have, but all of them have been good so far. So I would definitely say if you've liked some of the other stuff that Netflix has produced in the side of anime, like I would give it a watch because it's on par with their other stuff that they've created. But that's it for me. Graham, did you have any final?
If I had to add anything else, I really enjoyed the beginning and end theme songs because the beginning kind of sets up the mood in a cool way because it's got this really kind of eerie female vocals that are kind of off in a way, and it kind of sets the mood for the show when you watch it. And then the end credit song was really good. I thought it was a really cool song. It's something I went out of my way and listened to outside of just watching the show at a point. And it really gets you hyped just to go on to the next episode. So I think that was really cool. But for me, that's pretty much it. It was a really good show.
Alrighty. Well, you heard it from us. Now it's time for you guys to check it out. So keep up to date with the rest of the stuff we're doing. We got a lot more content coming. You can always check us on social media. Check out the rest of the videos that we have on the YouTube channel. And as always, stay tuned for our podcast on SoundCloud, Intervention Prevention. We'll see you guys next time. Later, Addicts.